Good.
And we're going. Okay, so when you were about 13, your mother took steps to alleviate some of the issues with the. Can you tell us about that?
I can tell you about that. It's strange because the day before we left my dad, um, maybe I'll just go back a little bit. We had been living in Morden just before in June, and then in that summer, my dad convinced us to move back to Low Farm because he was going to get dry. So we went home for 2 months. We were there July, August, and then beginning of September, my dad started drinking again. And I was standing on the street corner with my friends, and my mom had come into town. She'd been taking Grandma to go get a new couch. And she saw me on the street corner. She's like, "Why aren't you at home?" And I said, "I think you know why." And I had to go home. I went to bed that night, and I just said to her, I had bottle Tylenol beside my bed because I had extreme headaches. And I said, "How many of these would it take not to wake up in the morning?" We were gone the next day. So that was our beginning of our adventure. My strong mother deciding to pick us up and go to BC for a new life. And it was the best thing she ever did. She saved my life is what she did. She really saved my life because I was super serious about taking those pills.
So, uh, just describe a bit of the home life then before you left even for Morden.
Hmm. Well, we left. We went to go to Morden because we were leaving my dad because of his heavy drinking. And I didn't know that it was called alcoholism at the time. I didn't have those words for it. I just knew that home was really not a fun place to be. Dad was always drinking. First thing in the morning, he'd have his orange juice. He'd ask for a sip. No, you couldn't have a sip. Well, of course, there's vodka in it. That's why you couldn't have a sip of his orange juice in the morning. I didn't know that. And I was always wondering how he was drunk by lunchtime. Well, that's how. I just thought he drank whiskey and Coke. I didn't know he drank vodka and oranges, but I guess vodka is not supposed to be as noticeable, or there's no smell to it. So, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just a feeling of not wanting to be where you live because you're just made to feel like you're nothing. Everything you do is wrong. You get no help with anything. If there's a chore to be done or something needs to be done, it's not the parent that's doing it, it's not dad, it's us. And just always having the rug pulled out from under you. You'd make plans to do something, all of a sudden you can't go. Dad has different plans, dad's passed out. Yeah. I wouldn't say that he was ever really, he wasn't physical ever with me, but he was just mean. He just had a lot of mean words and never anything encouraging. Never anything encouraging. Like, "Oh, do you ever look great today?" Like I hear other parents say that to other kids. You hear dad saying that to their girls. "Oh, you look so pretty, you look so beautiful." I'm like, oh, I never had that. I never had that kind of relationship with my dad. It was always like I just always wanted to be away from him. He would go away for the summer to work custom combining. I love that. He'd be gone for like 2 months and we'd have fun. We'd have music in the house, we'd be dancing, and Dad would come home and that was all shut right down. So yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, so your mom and you took action. How did you? What got you to the point? How did you know what to do, or how did you?
Well, I think that'd be a good question for Mom. I didn't know that there was an escape. Like to me, the escape was I would have to die. I didn't know how else I was going to get out of there. Mom had some answers because she was going to Al-Anon, and I guess she knew in the back of her mind she was always going to have to do something. But when she phoned everybody telling them that we were leaving Dad and that we needed a place to stay, everyone's like, "Okay, we got a spot for you." And she's like, "No, you got to check." And they're like, "Oh no, we decided this years ago. When you were ready, we were ready." So it was just, they were all just waiting for Mom to make her decision. And she made a very good one. We still had time to have a life after that. And that's exactly what we did.
And how did your mom find out about Al-Anon?
She found out through her sister Shirley. Her sister Shirley had also an alcoholic husband, and she turned my mom on to Al-Anon. And it wasn't easy to get to because we had to travel quite a ways to get there because we were in very rural Manitoba, and we didn't have like big centers that had these kind of activities. But I think Winkler is where we went most of the time. And then she took me once to an Alateen meeting. It was way out, I don't even know where it was, somewhere in Winnipeg, I think, just so I could get an experience with finding out what it was about. And that's when I found out there were other kids living the same life as me. I had no idea. I just always thought I was the only kid living in an insane house like this. And I found out I wasn't. I don't know that it made me feel better, but it made me feel maybe like I wasn't quite so alone. You know, and then I got the book and I started reading that and kind of got an idea of what life could maybe be like if I wasn't in this situation. But as I say, I saw my only situation, a way to leave that situation was just to not be here anymore. So I'm really glad that my mother took the steps to save not only me but herself, because she was also losing herself in this situation, because she couldn't be herself.
And your two older brothers grew up in that situation, and
unfortunately, it affected them a lot differently than it did me because they were older than me, so they had more time with Dad in his bad times. And unfortunately, both of my brothers became alcoholics and or drug users. And yeah, I lost them both way too young. Way too young. My brother Clifford died of an alcohol or a drug overdose. Had many drugs, not just one. And my brother Ross, because he lived such an unhealthy lifestyle, he passed away early also. Yeah, that's really hard because they didn't have to die to get away from the situation, and I just wish they could have known that. Yeah.
Okay, and then last, let's talk about the escape.
So the great escape, yeah. So the morning that we were leaving my dad, I had no idea. I got up in the morning because we hadn't slept the night before, so we got up all bleary-eyed, and because Dad wouldn't let us sleep. That was another thing. Dad would not let us sleep because his awake time was at nighttime. So just when you thought you were nicely going to have a good sleep, he'd come to visit you, and you would be talking all night. Just talking. I just want to talk. I just want to talk. I just want to sleep. But no, that was not an option. So he wasn't bugging me, he was bugging Mom. And when Bob was at work, then he was bugging me. So there was really, he just couldn't get away from it. Just even trying to sleep wasn't an escape. So that night, after we'd had our bad night, I got up in the morning and Mom said to me quietly, when you go to school today, you're going to ask for your transfer papers. We're leaving this afternoon. Can't tell anybody, don't tell your friends. Just go to school and act like everything's normal. So I did that. I went to school and I went home at lunchtime. And then Mom said to me, okay, you can tell your friends now after lunch, you can tell them what's going on because we'll be out of here by the time, as soon as you get home from school. So I had to tell my very best friend in my whole life that I'd known since I was 5 years old that we were running away, and we really did. I got home from school, Mom had the Maverick. We had a little Maverick, little blue Maverick, 4-door, packed to the rafters. Everything that Mom could think to take along, dishes, tools, just all the little things that she thought of in that short period of time. Her brain must have just going 100 miles an hour because I don't think there's much that she forgot to bring with us. And so yeah, we went to my sister's for the weekend, and they helped us get prepared for our trip because we were going all the way to BC to live with my Auntie Anne and her husband Vic and their 3 boys. And yeah, my brother Ross and his father-in-law got my mom's car ready to go. They got new tires on, and we were ready for our trip through the mountains. And you know what? I had no idea what life was going to be like, but I knew that it couldn't be any worse than what we'd been living. And just the thought of going to somewhere safe, And that's really what it was. When we got to my Auntie Anne's, it was definitely a safe place. They made sure at all times that we were cared for, we were loved, and we knew that we were where we were supposed to be. Yeah, they were so good to us.
And your mom said that you guys get together every year and celebrate this.
We do. So every year on September 22nd, that is a day that we arrived at my aunt's house in BC. My mother and I have a celebration. We get together, I give her a card, a big thank you card. We have balloons and we go for lunch. I give her flowers because, like I say, she really saved my life. And I always want her to know how grateful I am for that.
Okay, anything that you want to add or say or anything, go ahead.
No, I just know I would not be here without my mom. There's no more I can say than that.
Great, Jackie, thanks. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to shut it.